Someone online I saw on Reddit asked about wanting to shoot documentaries or their own videos, and they had $600. And it's a question that comes up a lot because a lot of times people go, "Hey, I want to start getting into shooting videos." I have usually it's $1,000. I don't know why that's the magic number, but what camera should I get? And a lot of the answers are correct, but are kind of missing the whole picture. Camera is one thing, lenses are another thing, right? And those get very expensive very fast. Even if you get a nice camera like this Canon C100, the lenses are going to be, I mean, like the Sigma 18 to 35 that I built a career on is, I think, $800. Like, it hasn't really gone down. I'm sure you can get a used one for maybe $600. But the C100 Mark II body, I think, is like also $600, $800. So already you're, let's say, at $1,200 to $1,600, and you're past your budget. And that is why I suggest using this. Any phone will do. However, the iPhone does have the ability to record in Apple Log if you use the Blackmagic Camera app. And I've tested it myself. It works phenomenally. I mean, genuinely, if I was in film school and my choice was, at the time, the DVX 100 or my Canon XL2, or even, to a degree, my AF 100 that I ended up getting later, I would probably go with this. There are aftermarket lenses that you can get from companies like Moment that can impart a interesting look. I have played around with, but not really used, the anamorphic. I had it for my Pixel, is the thing, my Pixel 6. And now I have this iPhone, so I don't have the right case for it. But getting that little Moment lens and the correct case for this, that anamorphic one, could be a very interesting way to boost your, making the cinema yours, as that dude Casey says. So what do you do with your $600? Let's assume you have the phone. I know for some people that's maybe a lofty assumption, but let's assume you have the phone already. What do you spend your money on? Well, first thing, number one, audio, because light exists in the world, and we'll get to that in a second. What you don't have is good audio. So obviously you could get those Rode mics, those little clippy Rode mics that are inexpensive. Hollyland makes a good one, the Lark. But at something that you can put on your Actor and get good audio. Zoom makes a 32-bit float lav pack. I would maybe suggest that. Now, if you've got more than one Actor, you have to spend, I think those are like $200 a pop or $150 a pop or something like that. Maybe or more. But in any case, those could get pricey, depends on what you're doing. But the main thing you need to focus on first is getting good audio. And these new 32-bit recorders won't stop you from making mistakes, but will help you in fixing those mistakes if necessary. Clipping, things being too low, etc. Not a magic bullet, but very good. And I just sneezed a bunch. So you get your audio set up. Maybe that's going to get you, if we're dealing with your $600 to $1,000 budget, figure out all the pieces you need, make a tier list, get good audio. That way, you're almost halfway there, right? With lighting, even the best cinematographers in the world that I've interviewed on Frame and Reference, a lot of times they're shooting outdoor, like Greg Fraser, when shooting Dune, just shot with the sun at the right time of day. It can be that simple. I was wondering how much modification of that sun you were actually doing in those desert scenes.
In short, very little. Bounce, a little bit of neg sometimes, but very little. It's about where you place people and how you place them, and what time of day you shoot. It's impossible to replicate daylight, like outside. Right. I think. I mean, I wouldn't say impossible because somebody will prove me wrong, but I think it's impossible.
You did a good job in the first one. Those that like one fight scene where everyone comes out of the dirt and it's like in that kind of pillar light. I remember that one being kind of a head scratcher.
Well, okay. So do you know how we did that? You would have seen it behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Or not?
yeah. No, yeah,
That
I
was,
saw
that
it.
was
Yeah, I remember you guys discussing like that was going to be a pain, and then it simplicity won out.
well, yeah. I mean, we just shot it outside at the right time of day. Like I
Yeah.
said, like we chose an outdoor set with no ceiling. We made a gobo that created shadow. We using Unreal, we tracked the sun and said, okay, between 10:33 and 11:05, it's providing that. We rehearsed, we shot. Like, it was super simple.
So, picking the correct time, you get the Sunseeker app or a version of it that you can get for free on your cell phone. And so you know where the sun is and you can plan your shoot. The thing with low budget filmmaking is you just have to spend more time in pre-production. You have to spend more time prepping. Because when you have a lot of money, when you have a big budget, you can, you know, bend reality to your will in such a sense, and get the result you want over a longer period of time. You know, if you have no money, maybe you're always shooting at magic hour, you know, and then you only get, let's say, an hour or so of shooting time, depending on where in the world you are. And yeah, that's inconvenient, but it looks great and it's inexpensive. The other thing you can do is, hold on, you can get shower curtain, this diffuse material. This is just as good as the expensive diffusion that you can buy. And is incredibly inexpensive, $8, you know, at Ross or Michaels or whatever, Marshalls, and they come in various strengths, I guess you'd call it, but just this kind of semi-transparent. I bring this on every shoot with me, so you know, to diffuse big windows and stuff if necessary, or even lights that you bring. And then on top of that, you'd want to get the same thing but blackout, right? And what you'd end up doing is, depending on the situation, you put the black on one side, you put the diffusion on the other between the light and the subject. Get a nice soft light. That will really get you quite a bit of the way there. In terms of lighting, there are very good companies that make these tiny little bricks that are 100 watt and even 200 watt now, that are relatively inexpensive, $200 maybe. Get one of those, you know, blast that through the diffusion, or maybe it looks good hard. I don't know. Maybe you get a small like Fresnel lens for it and get somewhere in the middle. You know, there's a lot of options there. But if you're on a super low budget, you're using the sun. And the way to control it is either with diffusion, and then everything else is going to be with black. The more black you can get around the area that you don't want light, the better, right? Because making something look cinematic is all about control of your image and not just doing whatever's handed to you.
When you're doing stuff with not very much money, neg fill is very cheap. It shapes the light really well. Don't need a generator for it. You just have to hope it's not windy.
Yeah.
And it shapes the light beautifully.
Then you've got the issue of camera support, right? Tripod, obviously. If you can get a very inexpensive tripod somewhere, again, maybe $100, $200, that's small enough for your iPhone. You know, it doesn't have to be anything beefy. There's something to be said for just having a stable, locked off shot. That's page one, day one of cinematography. You don't need a gimbal. The little phone gimbals have become inexpensive for sure. So maybe that is something you may want if there's a lot of walking in your film. But again, you want to start with your script. You need to know what you're filming. But I understand maybe you want the tools to see what comes up, whatever. But don't jump to gimbal immediately. So tripod, maybe a gimbal, but I've put together this thing, right? So it's two handles these are from Red Rock Micro. They're not really a company anymore. Some rails, a little rail block with a cell phone holder in it, and a little pad, and you can just do like that, right? And so that'll get you very stable images and will look better than just hand holding your phone. So it'd be like more or less something like that, right? And your monitor's right here. So you don't have to buy a monitor or anything. You can just look at it like that. And obviously on the Blackmagic app, you want to make sure that you're at 24 frames a second, 180-degree shutter. Getting an ND filter for this would be really helpful, because then you can keep your aperture low and get a shallower depth of field. Obviously, very, very tiny sensor. It's going to be difficult to get super shallow depth of field, but it'll look better if you put an ND filter on there. Keep the ISO low, keep the f-stop low, better look. And so you just do everything like this. Now, another thing you could do is mount the supposed gimbal, the little phone handheld gimbal, on this, right? Do like a creator thing almost. And that would be very stable. Now, the reason you would want to do something like this over just holding it with your hand is because that's how we use cameras, right? If we're trying to evoke a higher budget, think about what do they do in the big leagues and replicate that, right? So handheld or shoulder mounted, camera is the look that cameras have when we use real cameras, right? So do that, right? And this little getup probably isn't that expensive. So again, audio, that's the one thing you want to spend money on. Lighting, you're going to use the sun probably, or if you can afford it, one of those small 100 watt, they're literally without the lens or anything like this big. It's crazy. Maybe 2 times that big. Camera support, right? Those are the fundamentals that'll get you 80% of the way there. DaVinci Resolve is free. You can color grade. You don't need any plugins or anything like that. You can get a really good look just with that, and you can do your editing on there. You can do your scouting and figuring out where the sun is and all that with free apps, So yeah, a light meter, that could be helpful. I think I paid $9 for it. A sun positioning app, the Blackmagic camera app, Shot Designer, Shot Deck, all very helpful and then, you can even write your script on this and share it with your friends. Google Docs, write it out so everyone has it. You can all edit it together and stuff. And really, again, on the lower budget, pre-production is the most important thing on any film, but especially on the lower budgets, that's, pre-production is free.
Now I really ask for a lot of prep. Yeah. Like I'd rather, to be honest, I would prefer to just prep the movie and never shoot it. I really could. Nothing would make me happier than to just prep the movie, because it's like that's where the dreaming happens. It's like the second you get on the set, that's where every compromise happens. It's like, oh, that thing you wanted to do 2 weeks ago, that's not going to happen. It's like, oh, but it was such a great idea, And the prep, like that whole it's not fix it in post, it should be fix it in prep.
Right.
And I, even if the director has it totally figured out, being a fly on the wall in those early director scouts and pointing certain things out, or having those early conversations with the designer or the set decorator or the location manager, it just pays so much dividends ultimately in the movie for me. And so that's now pretty important.
And so that's where you're really going to see results, is when you go in there with a really strong plan, right? Audio, available lighting, controlling that lighting, camera support, and controlling the settings on your camera are really all you need. I could definitely, and I'm not saying this as someone who owns tens of thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment and just being like, oh, be scrappy about it. If I had to, I'm telling you what I would do. I'm not suggesting this like, go get them, kid. This is literally what I would do if I had zero budget. It comes down to taste and shot selection, right? Getting the light in the right place, making sure the actors sound good again. Not moving too much, being specific about what you're doing. If I just had a bunch of Duvetine or black material and diffusion, you can get something good. The documentaries I've done are just a more expensive version of locking 2 cameras technically off, and then big soft source on one side. But if you can't add that source, position them near a window. I did that for a documentary that's going to be on TV, I guess. I don't really know where it is yet. But one time we just didn't have the gaff team for that day. So we just put them up next to a window and turned off all the lights. That's another thing. If you have practicals in the shot and they don't match color temperature and they don't kind of match the look, just turn them off. Turn everything off. It's all about control. But if you're just getting started, what I'm trying to do is save you money, because if you're getting into filmmaking, you're probably doing one of two things. One, you have a story that you're desperate to tell. This is the best situation. You have a story that you're desperate to tell, and you need to get it out there. This is where all this stuff, you're like, all right, cool. That's all I need to get this done. Awesome. I'm going to go do that. That's what I hope for you. Or what it seems like a lot of times people are interested in it as a hobby or something like that. And in which case, this is what I recommend because it's going to save you money. What if you learn you don't like this? Having better gear isn't going to suddenly show you that you like it. And sometimes having better gear is a detriment because it's more finicky. It's more difficult, you know, when this is the whole setup, like not even that, like when this is it, like that's really nice. You don't have to load in gear, you know, and again, you don't change camera settings really. There's no like settings thing. Apple log, you know, f4, f2.8, an ISO that doesn't look noisy, and a 180-degree shutter. That's all we ever do in film. And this thing can shoot high speed if you really need it. If you need a slow-mo for some reason. But yeah, this is like, that's what I would do. You'll have to learn about where light should come from. Motivated lighting is something you should look up. But that's it, right? I know a lot of people scoff at the like, oh, just use your phone, says the guy with all the equipment. Yeah, but because I have all the equipment and I know what I'm doing, that's why I'm telling you this is feasible. This wasn't necessarily feasible back in the day. The just shoot on your phone thing 5 years ago was more about the type of person who is desperate to tell a story and doesn't have the resources, right? Now, this is a perfectly acceptable solution. Especially, you know, you're not going to sell anything on your very, very small chance that you sell your project or people give you any money for it when it's your first one, right? So this is, let's assume, going on YouTube. It's going to look great. Trust me, especially with the tools we have with Resolve. Again, free, incredible. So yeah, that's my suggestion. And I hope you make something great. I'd love to see it.